Here's something that I've been thinking about of late. I've been wondering if AI could replace documentation like altogether. Now, hear me out on this one, because what the dominant use case of AI today is to help you with documentation, right? To help meeting notes, to summarize, to help you do a first draft of a PRD or whatever type thing you're trying to do. A PRD being a product requirements document. But I've been thinking about search as a proxy to what we could look at, right? And what we could model the future on, which total sidebar, but this is a little bit of a tactic or a practice that you can do. Because you can't predict the future, one of the things that you do, one of the tactics that you do in order to try to model the future is we try to find proxies or similar things that have happened in the past, and we try to look at the past. Now, obviously the past can't tell you about what's going to happen in the future, and just because it did happen in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen again in the future. However, because things are based on human behavior and that type of stuff, history tends to have a pattern, right? It tends to repeat itself. It has a habit of repeating itself. So, one of the things that you can do inside strategy, discovery, that type of stuff, when you're trying to think about things in the future, is to look at similar things. I did this in the past with a client when we were looking at basically some stuff that's come true today around AI and stuff and uptake around those types of things. This was about 4 years back, 3-4 years back. Just before, OpenAI kind of boomed and ChatGPT came on the scene. But we were looking at, things like chatbots. We're looking at like text versus phone calls, phone adoption, basically, like technology that had similar curves and how that adoption went, and basically using that as a bit of a proxy to model. Anyway, sidebar aside, I mean, thinking about search as one of those potential proxies. So for me, I use a Mac, and Mac has Spotlight, and Windows brought out these types of features these days too. So it's not only a Mac thing, but Mac's had this for a long time. And Mac has Spotlight, which essentially makes you be able to, it basically indexes your computer, and you can do command space, like on the keyboard. I was just looking at my keyboard there. Do command space, comes up with a search bar, and you can just search stuff. And what Spotlight has done for me, and also, you look at Google Drive, everything, right? Like search has become a pretty stable table stakes functionality that's across all kinds of applications, is that it's kind of destroyed file organization for me. Because if you think about like jobs to be done, right? Like what is file organization trying to achieve? What it's trying to achieve is organization. And why do we need organization? So we can find things, right? If I'm looking for a document, if I'm looking for something, I know to go to this file, I browse through to kind of like, file and nested subfile folders, this folder, subfolder, etc., and then I find the file that I want. What search has done, definitely for me, it's definitely not the case for everyone, but at least for me, search has just completely destroyed that. And I'll throw a picture off of my desktop and my idea of organization, which is just organized chaos these days. And that's because I don't need to do it. With tools like Spotlight and search functionality inside Google Drive and whatever other drives I use, I can find the things that I want. So I don't need to go browsing through folders. I just use search and I just look for the thing that I want. And as search functionality has gotten better and better and better, I've done less and less file organization. If we had to graph that, you would see search capability go up and my organization when it comes to folders and files basically tank down the ground. And I've been thinking about this with AI because, like I said, right now, I think a lot of people are, I know a lot of teams are using AI to help them with documentation, help them write documentation. But I've just wondered, what would be the next logical evolution of that? Like, could AI just like get rid of the need for documentation altogether? And the future that I kind of envision or I see we could potentially head down. This is just a thought bubble. I'm just sharing a random thought bubble, right? This isn't, by no means it's saying I'm going to hang my hat on and say that this is 100% going to happen. But if I follow the train of thought and I go towards a logical conclusion, what I feel like is that we will basically have the knowledge and information, right, in a data store that AI or an LLM can be over the top of, and we would query that. So here's an example, a tangible example. Rather than using AI to help you write a PRD, the AI would just have access to all the information that you would typically put inside of the PRD. Then you could ask it to generate a PRD. And this solves a lot of problems because documentation goes stale. We don't keep it up to date. There's a whole bunch of problems and reasons for it. So if you are always generating one, the version that you generate will always be the latest. We'll always have the latest information, always be the most up to date. So you could use it to generate a document. But here's the next step on top of that, right? So if we followed a logical conclusion, rather than generating it, why am I going to a PRD in the first place? I'm probably going there to learn something, to find something out, right? Like I probably have a question in mind that I'm trying to get answers to. So why can't I just query it? Why can't I just ask the question and let it pull the relevant information and maybe some of the context and serve that up to me? And my point being is I start to think about the potential, and this is just a thought bubble. This is purely a thought exercise, right? Where could it be the future where we don't have these documents that we read anymore unless we actually intentionally ask to generate the document? Instead, it'll be this more discussion-based experience where you ask questions, to give you answers, you ask more questions, you're going to go back and forth, and you get the relevant information. And it's probably a good example of, like, at the end of the day, PRD documentation is just a solution. What is the underlying needs, jobs to be done that are actually happening here? It's probably something like, I'm trying to learn something. I've got questions. I want some answers. As long as I get those answers in the easiest way possible, that solution is probably going to win. So I've just been thinking about it, been thinking about search, been thinking about my own terrible file organization. And it was just a bit of a thought bubble that I thought I would share. Keen to hear your thoughts. Whether you completely disagree with me, I would love to hear that, to be honest, because I love to challenge my thinking and to understand your perspective and try to refine that. But yeah, anyways, I thought I would share. Thanks. See ya.